Hello guys, this is the Epiphany. In today's video I'm going to be making a 5v5 tier list, and by that I mean specifically 5v5 Perceptor fights. Before I do that, I just want to talk about my 3v3 tier list that I made a few days ago, and it was nice to see that the majority of people agreed with the classes that I designated into each category. There was a small amount of people who disagreed, but that's fine as well because that's a learning experience for me. I've made 3 changes. I put Osa in the very effective, Elio in average, and Kra in average. The reason why I put them in the categories that I made is because for 3v3 Colosseum, obviously 3v3 solo and 3v3 group are different things, and as a compromise for that I actually made it the most common builds. So in today's video for 5v5, there is only one type of 5v5, and therefore it's going to be the most effective build. So this tier list that I'm making is my own opinion, and I'm going to explain the most effective build for each class, and that being said, what category they belong in. Starting with Ecaflip, the most effective build is Intelligence Crit Damage. This is because they have the ability to heal allies, and that does make a difference. Apart from that, they can still do their usual stuff such as doing erosion, dealing high damage at medium range, and shielding allies with repercussion. So they are effective. For Sadida, the most effective build would have to be the Chance, Agility, Intelligence, MP reduction build. The nature of 5v5 maps is that either the starting positions are close within the team, or the enemy team overall will start close to the allied team. So in a nutshell, the maps are fairly small on average compared to a 3v3 map. That being said, it's easy for the Sadida to infect as many people as possible on the first turn, and then every other turn after that they will do damage as well as MP rape. And that is very effective because reducing enemies' MPs is very nice. Next we have Feka. Feka, the most effective build would have to be Intelligence Crit Damage using a War set. And Fekas have the ability to shield allies as well as themselves. And in 5v5, if they shield themselves and 4 other allies, it's very nice because all damage dealt will be reduced. Additionally, they also can have a spell that is called Gravitational Glyph, which is a perfect counter for Zealors and pushback Harper Mages and pushback Masqueraders. So that being said, they are effective. Next we have Masquerader. Masqueraders, the most effective build would have to be Strength Crit Damage. So with those Masqueraders, they can deal very high damage at close range because I believe the Terroid Axe has a 100% crit chance. They can also Plastron, which shields themselves and 4 other allies. So therefore, they are effective. Next we have Kra. Most effective build for Kra would have to be full AP reduction. So Paralyzing Arrow will do -4 AP, and then Striking Arrow will -3 AP. These are very effective spells because they can reduce the AP of multiple enemies, especially when they group. That's why Kras in 5v5 are very effective. Pandawa's most effective build would probably be any element at all to be able to do damage, or a full lock and 50% resistance set. That set is designed specifically for the Pandawa to be able to tank. So they'll be able to pick people up and keep them safe from being hit. They can also throw enemies far and separate them from the team, but because the nature of 5v5 maps tend to be smaller on average, it is actually not that great because they won't be able to throw over far walls or anything compared to in 3v3. In 3v3, if they throw an enemy like very far away, that person would have a very hard time to be able to get back to its team, such as a Kra or an Enaripsa who doesn't have much maneuverability. Therefore, Pandawa would have to be average. SRAM, the most effective build, is Strength. The reason for that is because of a spell called Malevolent Trap. Basically, when somebody steps in the Malevolent Trap, the more enemies who are standing around the trap, the higher the damage the trap will deal. So, as I said before, 5v5 maps tend to be smaller or grouped. So, Malevolent Traps can do up to 2000 damage each when someone steps in them. Additionally, they have a spell called Mist. A Mist, basically any allies who stand inside the mist will be invisible. So, imagine doing 5v5 and then all 5 enemies are invisible. That's very, very annoying. Therefore, this makes them very effective. Next we have Enitroff. Most effective build for Enitroff would have to be Agility. Similarly to 3v3, all they're good for is doing high damage at range with their Agility spell. They can also bribe, which puts people in pacifist state, heal a bit or damage share, but overall they're not very effective. Next we have Eniripsa. On Echo, the most effective build for Eniripsa is Intelligence with decent resistance and AP reduction, so maybe 30% resistance and 80 or 100 AP reduction, so that they can heal allies properly. On Eliseo, Eniripsas tend to have 50% resistance, 200 AP reduction, and they can only heal using a spell called Uniting Word. Personally, I think that the Echo Eniripsa is more effective because of their ability to actually be able to heal, heal manually, physical heals, as well as being able to do damage to enemies. That being said, Eniripsas are very effective because of their ability to give AP to 4 other allies, 2 AP using a spell called Galvanizing Word. They can also power buff and MP buff, which makes them a must-have for 5v5. Next we have Zelor. Most effective build for Zelor would have to be Intelligence or AP reduction. And the thing about Zelor is that they are more effective when the map is as big as possible. So if it was a map the size of a 3v3 Colo map, it would be very effective. However, since the average 5v5 map tends to be, quite smaller than Colo, I'd put them in the effective category for that. Next we have IOP. So IOPs function well when the maps are small. They also function well when they have support. The most effective build for an IOP would have to be full strength. And having an Eniripsa on the team to power buff and AP buff makes them pretty nice. But unfortunately, they do not have the ability to support allies. If they jump in, they hit, and then if they die, then there's nothing you can do about it. Which is why they are average, as they only are good for doing damage. Next we have Harper Mage. Most effective build for Harper Mage would have to be Pushback Harper Mage or Crit Damage Harper Mage using Arcane Torrent. Pushback Harper Mages, the more runes they can make, the more damage they can deal. And in 5v5 they have 5 enemies, which makes it very easy for them to make runes, which is why they are very effective. Crit Damage Harper Mage is also very effective in 5v5 because Arcane Torrent deals damage in an area of effect, so it can hit multiple targets. So that's why Pushback Harper Mage is very effective. The perfect counter for Pushback Harper Mage is a Gravitational Glyph from a Fecker, but assume that there is no Fecker on the enemy team. Pushback Harper Mage would definitely be very effective either way. Next we have Osa. Most effective build for Osa is Chance. Similar reason to in 3v3, they can do high damage with their summons and they can do area of effect. However, in 5v5, Osas aren't commonly used because there are other better options. So I can put them very effective, but there are better options than Osa to use in 5v5, such as the classes that have the ability to support each other. Osa can't really support one another, which makes them obviously not as good as an Eniripsa in 5v5. So I'm going to leave it as effective. I might get a bit of discussion about this one, but I think for 5v5 they are effective. In 3v3 I did change them to very effective, as you saw at the start of the video. Next we have Algonac. Algonac is very similar to IOP in terms of their roles. They are only good, they can't support allies. The most effective Algonac is Intelligence. if they have support from Enaripsa, they can do very, very high damage with Tetanization, which is an int spell. Yeah, but they can't really save allies, and they can only charge in and do damage. They're only good for doing damage, so that's why they're average. Next we have Forgonaut. Most effective build for Forgonaut would have to be crit damage using a drill or harpooner. And the thing about that is that or they could play pushback with tack turret, or they could play intelligence with Bathyscaphe. But in 5v5, because the maps tend to be smaller, and if you're facing a Sadida who can infect, it's actually pretty easy to kill the Forgonaut's turrets. If you kill a Forgonaut's turrets, they are pretty much useless for the next 2 or 3 turns, which makes them an average class, to be honest. Next we have Sacriel. Most effective build for Sacriel would have to be Chance, because of a spell called Condensation, which pulls enemies in an area of effect 4 squares. And that's a good counter for Mist. For example, if you're facing a SRAM who puts a Mist, you can use Condensation on the Mist, and it will pull out 4 cells in an area of effect. Any enemy who's standing inside the area of effect. On top of that, they have a very strong spell called Clobbering, which does very high damage in an area of effect at range. So that's why Sacriels are very effective. Next we have Rogue. Most effective build is Chance, so that they can AP rape. But just like in 3v3, Rogues are only effective when they, it takes time for them to be effective, so that they can build up the bombs, which is why Rogues are useless, unfortunately. Lastly, we have Eliotrope. So Eliotrope's most effective element would have to be Intelligence, so that they can heal allies using Wakfu Ray and so on. Unfortunately, since the nature of maps in 5v5 are quite small and grouped, Eliotropes can't really stretch their portals, so they will not be at their maximum potential, which is why they are not effective. If it was 3v3, however, Eliotropes would have to be average, as I said at the start of the video. So guys, that's it for this video. That was my opinion on the 5v5 tier list. If you have any questions or if you have any disagreements, feel free to comment below, and I'll see you at the next video.